also a record number of tests. Nearly 55,000 people tested negative for the coronavirus yesterday. So while the cases are going up, the testings are also going up. So we got to keep that in mind. When we look at these numbers or we hear about it on the news stations, 1,400, the biggest number of all time, we have to be rational, and we also have to look at the number of tests. So it was also a record day with 55,000 people testing negative yesterday. Also, what's going on statewide doesn't necessarily mean that anything locally is going on, such as here in Sebastian. We haven't had any more new cases in Sebastian or any new hospitalizations in Sebastian to date, so as of yesterday. So that's a good thing. We have to look at those numbers too. The number of people in the hospital, the number of deaths, and the number of people getting tested. So because when that number goes up, so does the number of tests. So we have to remind ourselves of that. We have to practice the CDC guidelines like we have been since March. We've been repeating that over and over again. Listen, we are not trying to hype anything, and we also are not downplaying anything at the same time. We are giving you the exact numbers that are coming out of Tallahassee from the State Health Department. These numbers, those numbers from them is what we are reporting. But when we say things like nearly 55,000 people were tested negative, we're trying to remind you that we have to be rational here. There's going to be an increase in cases. We've been saying that for weeks in all of our videos. So the number of cases are going to continue to rise, but it doesn't mean that Sebastian is flooding with new cases. We had a few this week, that's correct. We're up to 13 right now, but that's nothing compared to what's going on down south or up in Orlando. That is nothing. So, and I think that people are doing the social distancing. Listen, when you see people at a restaurant or at Earl's, at the bar, and you see couples together, there's people that are angry that even those couples who live together, who are spouses, that they're not wearing masks to protect themselves. Let's be rational here. If you're in the same household, you really don't need to social distance yourself from that spouse or that person that you live with. So, and there are people that are upset that there aren't people wearing masks. We do recommend wearing masks, even though the World Health Organization claims they said to keep those masks to the frontline workers who are in the hospital. The CDC says it's not a requirement, but they recommend it as well. So think of it this way. Anytime that you cannot be 6 feet apart from someone you don't know, you want to wear a mask. So if you're at a restaurant and you're with your own household, your own table, and the next table of people are 6 feet away, you really don't need to wear the mask. You know, we've been saying this, especially when it's outdoors. Is it recommended? Yeah, it's recommended. But listen, social distancing is the biggest battle against this virus. You have to, to be social distancing. So, listen, the numbers are high. I admit it. We all admit it. But listen, they're going to continue to do that as we open the state. Will they go back down? I feel they will, as the number of tests probably go back down. So we are not Miami. We are not Orlando. We are Sebastian. And what I care about and what Sebastian Daily cares about is our community, our city, and our county. And it's looking good. Now, I want to bring up a couple of potential problems here locally. Fellsmere is up to 11 cases now, and most of those cases were this week. So we're a little concerned about what's going on in Fellsmere when they have the big increase. We're going to keep an eye on that and report anything new. There was nothing new today, but yesterday there were 2 more cases. And the other area that we're focused on is Barefoot Bay. They are now have 2 cases, although one of those cases was one for 3 months. We don't know where that one case went. So those are the 2 areas we want to keep an eye on. Let's take a look at the local numbers. 13 cases still in Sebastian, 11 in Fellsmere, 64 in Palm Bay, 1 in Malabar, 1 in Grant, 2 in Barefoot Bay, 0 in Mico, and 122 in Vero. In Indian River County, 164 cases, 11 deaths, 7,200 people tested negative, and 33 people in the hospital. Brevard County, 457 cases, 13 deaths, 26,000 people tested negative, and 66 people are in the hospital. So again, we're not seeing any new or more hospitalizations where people are in the hospital because of COVID-19. In cases in Florida, 63,000 cases, 2,700 deaths, and 1.2 million people have tested negative in the state. That's another important number. 1.2 million people tested negative. There are 10,000 people in the hospital statewide. So let's continue the advice that the CDC has been recommending all the people washing their hands frequently, practicing social distancing, and wearing a mask when you can't social distance. Okay, that's what we got to do. If you are ill or you have a chronic condition, we suggest you stay home, and so does the CDC. Those are under the CDC guidelines. There's a lot of people that think that, you know, they're in a rush to go somewhere and because everything is opening up. Take your time. Don't go out just because everyone else is. Take your time. If you're not comfortable, by all means, stay at home for now and let this thing run its course. Listen, COVID-19 will run its course and it will be over with. It might take several months. It could be the end of the year, who knows? But we just have to let it run its course. And as long as you're doing everything to protect yourself, washing your hands, wearing a mask, social distancing, you have nothing to worry about, nothing to panic about either. Even if the numbers tomorrow go up to 1,600 new cases in Florida, there's going to be more tests, you know, and listen, the state is reopening and this is what's going on. So follow the CDC guidelines. We're going to be out of this. I'm very optimistic. This is a bump in the road for all of us, and thank God it's still 13 cases and we don't have a bunch of people in the hospital. We're doing good, Sebastian. Just keep it up. I believe that the numbers are low in Sebastian because the citizens have taken their time to social distance and wear a mask, and they're protecting themselves. And that's how we're going to get through this. So, coming to you live right next to Riverview Park, I'm Andy Hodges, coming to you